almost New Year's Eve, right? We are one day away from the last day of 2023. While we are a day away from the last day of the year 2023, I want to really, I know I can take a lot of time sometimes with all that I say, and I know everything that we say most of the times are required to be said. But with saying so much, I want us to listen to not the much that I say, but sometimes what I actually say and what I'm actually saying. Just give me a minute. I just want to go and fix something quickly before we really going to continue with this discussion. So with all that we do and can do through social media, I always say social media has given us a good platform to internationally, for humanity to internationally engage with for humanity to internationally listen to one another, but not only listen to one another, but find ground in finding feet with all that we sometimes are required, to set right. I've mentioned before on one of my posts that in a world where there's no wrong, we can sometimes as human beings treat one another so wrongly, right? And with saying that, I want us to really listen to the amount of times that someone has missed on someone else's work. The amount of times that someone find themselves busy trying to oppress someone else's work. The amount of times that some people find themselves busy working on other people rather than working on self. And next year, now in mid-January, we're going to have our self-talk, right? And our self-discussion. And with having to listen to all that I had to say, because remember when you do a podcast, you listen to your own mistakes, you listen to what you have to say, and you find feed in all that you do. In doing our live stream videos, in doing our AWOKH education, it is finding Ribea Elise, finding feed with what I, Ribea Elise, do, and with how I, Ribea Elise, present what I do. And in all that we sometimes find ourselves so busy working on other people's work. I have distanced myself a lot from when I educate on AWOKH. I go and listen to Hun magazine, I go and read Hun podcast, I go and listen to Hun people's books. I have allowed myself to listen to self so that I know what I'm presenting out there. So that I know that when I present my podcast, I say what I, Ribea Elise, are saying in season. So that I know when I present my magazine, I present it the way I, Ribea Elise, present my AWOKH magazine in season. It's not that I'm going to write something that is going to be that someone else has written before, that someone else has pre-designed, right? That someone else has pre-structured before. It is when I work on a AWOKH business, I allow myself to listen to how does self present itself with all that AWOKH presents in its seasons. How does self represent self with all that I, Ribea Elise, represent when I represent a AWOKH business. And with having to learn that there is so much happening, and yet there's still so much required. I had the challenging season of having to over-explain myself because I learned that I'm dealing with a group of business owners, with a group of owners in the world that owns businesses based on where they have found themselves in their businesses. You know, we live in a world that you have to make place for a Ribea Elise person. We live in a world where business owners have to make place for an AWOKH business. We live in a world that not everything that Ribea Elise are saying on Instagram can be oddly out and wrong. When I specifically look at my Instagram views and at my Instagram likes and at the work that I present on Instagram, and I learn that there's so much celebrity house people, so much fashion industries that works from a AWOKH business. And I look at the amount of people that have liked my work. And I look at the amount of people that have viewed my videos. I look at the work that Instagram presents to Ribea Elise and how they feel about a AWOKH business on social media. And then I look at a world that find themselves in so much poverty, in so much war, in so much aggression, so much manipulation, so much that people are depriving one another of. And the world that are so arrogant and so ignorant and so rude to one another. And in all of that, a AWOKH business still have to say with all excitement in 2024 that I'm actually not only thinking about myself only when I educate Self 2024 or Self 2023 to our generation. That I'm actually thinking about the young person that is busy starting their own business, busy introducing themselves to the world. There is now not only the Ribea Elise in the room, there is now every poverty country and every abused country and every war country that our generation have to find feet to walk through, to find ourselves in generations after today being fine human beings and the amazingness of earth. And when I have to walk through seasons where it seems like you are self-centered and all that you present out there, and in actual fact, you are actually caring for someone else out there. Where it looks like Ribea Elise is self-centered, Ribea Elise is actually finding ground so that other young people can easily find their feet through the process of business, through the process of fashion, through the process of entertainment, through the process of motivational speaking, through the process of coaching, as whatever is up and rising is not that the business owner is going to only accept that is up and rising in our generation. Remember, AWOKH represents the awokenness of humanity, the awoken mindsets, the awoken reactions, the awoken attitudes that we create, that the celebrity houses, there is only a character, when in actual fact, the character's reaction are being acted out amongst humanity on a daily basis. When you have to find yourself having to independently introduce yourself to humanity, then you are that Ribea that says that I am not going to read a magazine, I am not going to look at fashion models' photos, I am not going to look at someone else that's going to tell me what to wear, because introducing myself in all that AWOKH presents and represents is the Ribea Elise that are required to be self-centered in how I introduce myself, my season. And in the amazingness of all that, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have Facebook. I don't find myself a lot on Twitter yet, because Twitter is just my opinion, and I've got so much podcast and so much live stream videos and so much, everyone has given me the platform. And while the platform is there, it seems like I have to educate everyone once again. Last year, someone posted and said, the listening of it. And I have to once again introduce the listening of our generation. And while all the platforms have been created for everything that we desire and are required to do in our seasons, and for that we can share, amongst one another with our different opinions, our different nationalities, our different religious backgrounds, our different upbringings, household upbringings, our different communication factors, that we are going to communicate differently the one to the other about. It is the listening that are required when all the platforms have made themselves available to humanity. It is the listening that business owners on Instagram, business owners on YouTube, business owners on Facebook, business owners on Twitter, the business owner on LinkedIn would have to invite themselves to the room to say that where AWOKH business finds themselves at, they require the listening audience. So now Ribea Elise has designed the education in a way that it is structured on my Instagram AWOKH fashion business page. It is structured on page Ribea, even though there's so much odd restaurant moments somewhere in all the communication of the business. But it is the listening requirement that our generation, I said when I started my AWOKH business to everyone, stay tuned everyone, and don't leave the room. We're in a generation where we have to remind one another to stay tuned, to allow one another our complete seasons amongst humanity. And I always say that I have blocked Aisha business out of my account because I now learned that there's so much happening in this world that relates to why the business was structured in a way that Aisha business was structured. But while I had to block people out, I had to learn to educate people to listen to Ribea Elise. And educating a generation of people to listen to someone is exactly that we say that when the world finds itself in so much wars, someone is going to have to listen to someone. Not everyone can back and hide away. Not everyone can ignore one another and say, oh, we can't listen because who's going to listen and what is going to listen? We're in a world where we're going to have to say that all these wars have to come to an end sometime or another. That, it's fine for us to back away and to divert to something else. But it is another thing for us to say that, you know what? The educational history of Ribea Elise, the person, the employment history, when you go on the LinkedIn page and you search Ribea Elise and you learn the employment history, you learn my background, you learn my upbringing. It's explained through the podcast. And then you learn that there's an amazing, complete seasonal education happening from the room of AWOKH business. And not always do we find ourselves in a generation where we can openly explain so much that I've explained through my podcast, so much that I've explained through my social media pages, so much that I have explained on my YouTube live streams. It's not always that everyone gives you that openness to say what you exactly want to say. I've been employed at businesses that finds themselves managing the international world from different areas of where they find themselves at in business, not only from the office environment. And when they invited Ribea Elise into the room, they invited Ribea Elise into the room of human resources, health and safety, recruitment, advisory roles. They invited the Ribea Elise person into the room. And they are now being introduced via the podcast, via the Facebook live streaming, via the people of color leading this generational educations, via our YouTube educations. That is Ribea Elise, that was the invitation into the different employment roles in office. And when you have a career history that are so full and complete that I had, over these 40 years, a complete educational background, a complete functional, structured career background, a complete AWOKH business project for someone else that don't want to listen to my pages, but they want to steal my work and run with the complete session that Ribea is introducing. Someone else builds now on AWOKH businesses and my career history and my employment and what I was employed for. Some people sit and look into the Google in videos in the offices. You know, offices has got the cameras and the cameras has got Google in videos. Some business owners find now business in all of my career history, and they find AWOKH business working for themselves about. And I made it clear when I went on social media that I own my AWOKH business. You know, some business owners now study exactly my every reaction in office, study exactly my every opinion, study exactly what I was a bartender, study exactly how I reacted. And the Ribea Elise person has become like a business structure for someone else. But look at where's AWOKH business on Instagram. Somewhere the people are viewing and hiding that they are viewing. Somewhere Instagram is hiding my work from the viewers out there. But we live in a generation where when someone says they find themselves in a complete seasonal education, then it's not for someone else to grab and run with it. It's not for someone else who wants to own and to want to silence a Ribea Elise's opinion in a corner. You know, when my daughter Tanika burned, she was burning in a corner. She was burning in a corner where South Africa says it was only children kids at that time. God bless my mama, Anna Philander, but God explained it to us in a way that the world wants to corner this mama Ribea Elise into a corner, and Ribea must over-explain herself, and someone wants to kill the Ribea Elise out of this world. God explained it in the harshness of how God can explain in the loudness of all that can be explained to humanity. And in this day, when I present my AWOKH business, I'm very kind to say that I love presenting the complete season of all that I, Ribea Elise, present and represent in my season. And for anyone else who have found themselves eagerly working on it, South Africa has had a tendency to eagerly silence a Ribea Elise about it because of the blackness and the coloredness of it, and to sip a Ribea Elise in a corner. But we are dealing today with the people who want to silence a Ribea Elise in a corner. When we are doing our businesses on social media, when we are doing our live stream videos, when I have to log into my Facebook account, when I get an error on my mobile phone, I'm dealing with a group of people that wants to sit Ribea Elise in a corner and wants to burn a Ribea Elise once again to steal Ribea Elise's educational work for someone else's house. And because I'm dealing with such YouTube business owners, with Instagram business owners, with Facebook business owners that said that they have listened, but they have not listened. They pretend that they are in the room, but they are actually trying to corner me into the loudness of all over the placeness on social media, while they have gotten much information out of Ribea, Elise on social media. As much as they can, they have tried to brag. Because I'm dealing with such business owners today, I'm very kind in saying that when I have my leading this generation discussions, when I produce my podcast, when I prepare my work, I do not require any abuses on my mobile phone, any technical errors, any software errors, any cell phone edits, any photo edits. You know, people say in this world that they are playing a sports game in our photos, but they are actually trying to burn a Ribea Elise in a corner. So for business owners who had the initiative with sports people, do you listen to Ribea? And then people say, oh yes, we listen. And someone else say, no, we don't listen. And someone else wants to see someone else's reaction. For the business owners who wants to miss on another Ribea Elise's work, I'm one very kind person. And I'm kindly saying, we had an amazing year with AWOKH business. Don't let the year get difficult for business owners who own social media. We have an amazing generation that some people enjoy an amazing season in certain countries, while other countries find themselves bombed down, struck down, abused down, oppressed down in poverty about all that even social media has played part in. So while we're busy educating a generation through a season, I want to say I appreciate the availability of the rooms, but I do not appreciate people wasting my work. I do not appreciate people wanting to kill my work down. And I do not appreciate people who want to silence me into a corner. For Vanderpump Rules teams that have sent their films through to New Zealand for me to watch, that includes so much that South Africa wants to say about the coloredness of Ribea Elise, and how South Africa wants to overrule Ribea Elise's opinion in Auckland, New Zealand. We thank God that social media is international platforms and being managed and held by international people that owns the room. Not by the business owners, international people that owns the room. Because if we're going to give our opinions into the business owner's hands, then the business owner is going to go and kill another Ribea Elise amongst humanity. So our social media platforms is in the hands of our international people. And let us remain to keep it in our own hands. I know I've been loud in New Zealand in this house to shout at social media. I've been loudly shouting in this house through the different devices that I have in my house to say, do not mess in my work, because we own our social media platforms, not the social media business owner owning AWOKH business. AWOKH business, Ribea Elise owns a social media platform. And in all of the kindness that we have to be kind amidst everything that we are challenged with. We educate ourselves. I always say, if people do not force people to be aggressive and abusive to other people, then do not be aggressive and abusive. Ribea Elise always say, even if you are not being told to edit Ribea's photos, then don't do it. If someone don't force you to do it, then don't mess on my phone. Don't mess on my social media pages. Don't mess on my videos. Don't go and edit my videos with all the New Yorker magazine cartoon edits that you can get in the world. I love my videos to be neutral. I take my videos very kind and thoroughly. I take my photos very kind and thoroughly. So if there's people that are not threatened to abuse Ribea Elise's photos, then I always educate and say, then do not go and edit and oppress Ribea Elise's photos. And then leave my photos as kind and as neutral as the chocolatier that I am in my season. And we all love a chocolatier Who remembers, I've mentioned in one of my videos that I received my very first chocolate when I was staying in Chicago when I was a little girl. And I remember my mama buying me or giving me the 10 rand. And I remember I always used to love a text. And then if we don't have money, we buy a chomp chocolate. And I remember the one day on my birthday in the 1 year, my mama came and I think she gave me a 10 rand or the slab chocolate was there, Cadbury slab. And how excited I was for that. In the secretness of that, someone came last year and I was looking after their child and the person gave me $1 and the person brought me a chocolate. And I was so reminded of when I was a little girl and my mama couldn't afford it. And in the amazingness of all of creation, my mama could afford the one birthday either to give me the 10 rand and I went to go and buy exactly the Cadbury slab that I always wanted to have, the big slab, because always we can only have the chomp because the chomp was a little cheaper and we could only afford the chomp chocolate. And I'm in that season where my journey started in AWOKH Street, right, 43A, Chicago, South Africa. And I was sitting on the stairways and the airplane would fly over to Cape Town. And I was this little girl and I would look and then we shout, airplane, airplane, bring me chocolates. And today I find myself in the borders on Auckland, New Zealand, in all of the appreciation of that life gives us in our seasons. And therefore, while it's an amazing season, let us enjoy the completeness of it and let us not abuse one another out, because many of us have been through a lot. Other people are going through a lot in other countries, and I know humanity educates themselves to go on with their day even while other people are challenged. But I also know that we are all in one room on this earth, and we all have to educate one another to make way for everyone. So let us continue to do that. We are enjoying our AWOKH photos for 2024 AWOKH magazine. We are doing this pink blazer with a white coat. And if you have the finances and you can financially do that, buy AWOKH magazine on stripe.com with Ribea, Elise, AWOKH business, and their AWOKH magazine. We're just working quickly on the magazine. And in all that we are doing, we say thank you to Team AWOKH. I know we've said a lot. Team AWOKH 2024, an amazing year for those of y'all who stay tuned to our room. An amazing year are laying ahead for us. Let's do our best. Let's work together and let's celebrate that. That is the amazingness of complete seasons. Have an amazing New Year's and New Year's Eve with everyone.